Okay, so volume profile is, I'll just repeat it, is essentially this right side, all these volume kind of nodes. All it's telling you is the volume that's traded at a certain stock price. So you can use this for either support or resistance. Um, and it kind of depends on how far you zoom out. So the farther you zoom out, the more data is collected, and then like the more the volume nodes will kind of show up, right? But obviously, when it has this huge volume node here at $39 for Hood, that's not really relevant for the current price action, right? Because we're so far away from that. So instead, you want to kind of zoom in a little bit closer to more recent price action, as that will likely take more precedence. So if I'm looking at it from here, this is the daily time frame. Obviously, this slightly area is a lot of like there's been a lot of volume traded here. So this tells me this area is really important in terms of uh, what like which direction we go from here because there's been so much consolidation. So if we're able to actually break this 51 area, then the next volume node that's like the closest, obviously it won't be as much, is probably going to be around right here, right? This is around this 56, 55 area. Um, and you want to make it a little bit cleaner because you don't want to use it as the only indicator for your price targets. So I think a way better one as the first TP is probably off of this candle here on the March 3rd rejection. So it's like right before that volume node, right? So around 54.84, that's probably where I'd look to take my first TP if this can actually fully break out of this structure here. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So the volume profile is going to be called VRVP. And its row size is 100, value area, volume is 100 as well. And again, you don't want to use volume profile as the only indicator. You want to use the price structure as well as the candlesticks and the patterns too, right? Yes, you can use Wix for price targets. And Tyler, yes, I do swing trading as well. My strategy is very similar to Sean's and Yusuf's. I would say like A plus setups will probably be. It's hard. You can't really give like a certain number, right? Because the market changes every single day. So I would say like I like to aim for at least one A plus setup per week. Yeah, we can take a look at meta here. I really like meta. Um, Lots of consolidation here. This is the third inside day now as well, which is really, really nice. Kind of like a flag. I really like it because we've broken past the 50 EMA and we're just kind of letting the EMAs catch up as we consolidate. So kind of to answer your question about like which indicators or strategies, I use the EMAs, volume, and candlesticks, right? So look, volume is declining here. We actually picked up a little bit on today's candle. Obviously, we had a catalyst, so with FOMC, but structure still looks really good. I want to see a break over the 604 area to confirm that breakout. I'm good, Bob. Thank you, though. So the characteristics of an A plus setup is having like a checklist of what you need to enter a trade, and it has to kind of basically trigger all of them for it to be like a A plus setup. So for me, that's I want to see a really good consolidation or price compression under a certain resistance point. I want to see volume declining, showing you that it's actually consolidating, indicating there's a higher chance of a potential pop. Usually that pop happens with an increase in volume as well. And then I also want to look and see and make sure like the EMAs are healthy, they're curling, 8's above the 21, 21's above the 50. And then the last thing is probably market conditions. So I want to make sure the market looks really good. And if that's true, then it gives me more confidence that the breakout slash move that I think is going to happen is more likely to happen more than not. An inside day, um, so really good example on inside days is Spotify here. So we had two inside days on Tuesday and Monday of this week, and then today is the day we actually got that pop. Basically, an inside day is having the entire candle, like including the wicks. That's what you really want, fully encompassed by the previous candle itself. So like this was that giant breakout candle, and then we see two inside days. So it's actually like an inside day within an inside day because all the volume and price that's been traded is within the candle before. That usually tells you it's consolidation. It's more of like a pit stop before a name moves in the direction it's already been moving. And profitability percentage. So I haven't kept up fully with the month, but I have been getting on it. Let me send you the link. So I've been actively tracking it now. Give me a sec. Here's a link that tracks all of our grades and stuff. How long did it take you to become profitable as a trader, and what is something you know now you wish you knew at the beginning? Um, so it took me about 4.5 years to become consistently profitable. Uh, like for me, making money was not the difficult part. Keeping it and actually risk managing was my struggle. So I know it's like I think traders when they first start are in two camps, right? Like one is you just struggle with making money, like just trading in the market, or two, you're really good at making money, but you don't know how to keep it. So I was unfortunately in the second camp, and I think just prioritizing risk management and really understanding what that means is something I wish I knew in the beginning when I first started. Yeah, I think app could continue to run. It depends. We'll have to see how it plays out tomorrow. But if this gap up holds, that's really nice. And Ladybug is asking for breakout setups. Are those on daily setups? And if so, do you enter on the following day or the same day of the breakout? So you look for the setups on the larger time frames. So it can be on the weekly or daily. Just the note is just that the higher the time frame, the more likelihood that the move will actually happen. And I like to usually like you'll set a trigger and you'll enter on the same day that when the breakout actually happens. And then if you want to swing it, you confirm the breakout by having the name actually close above that breakout level that you set. Would I buy the dip on Google? Honestly, I don't think so yet. Personally, for me, I'm already in a lot of I have some shares of Google. I'd rather just wait for this news for the market to really fully digest it, consolidate a bit, and then probably buy from there. I think it actually was a little bit concerning because um, a lot of the revenue for Google is from search engines. I have the same problem. I watch my greens go to red because I want more than it reverses. Yeah, I think that in itself is just not having a clear take profit zone or like an area to TP to where at least you take some off the table and then set it to like break even. So then you actually don't risk anything after that. I'll go full size for an A plus setup. So that'll be like usually 5% of the portfolio. And to answer someone else's question, I did not catch Nvidia today. That was a really nice breakout, though. I know Sean's in it. But anyways, let's start scanning a little bit. Let's see. Dope Paco Tesla. It's still really consolidating here. I know people are kind of freaking out about it, but at the end of the day, like it's not really going anywhere, right? Like just look, the volume is consistently still declining here, and despite all these huge wicks, it hasn't really moved much, right? So it's essentially still in this giant range. Like, so this is the range that Tesla's now trading at, like 270 and then 295. So if you're bullish, you want to see actually break this wedge here, eventually consolidate, and then hopefully test the highs of this 290 area. And then what you really want to see is eventually it consolidates a little bit and then actually finally breaks out. This is what I want to see if you're bullish. Okay. So still in HIMS here. I think the contract's closed at like plus 90% profit here. Uh, it was so hard not to trim today, but I'm trying to stick to my take profit areas. We're actually really close to the first one, which is around 52.75, which is this wick here on the weekly. We actually cleanly kind of filled this gap here from 46 to 49. I want to see if we can target this upper wick here, this gap fill from 57 to 64.3. So I think if the market opens up pretty well tomorrow, we'll take a heavy trim at open and then probably try to target this upper areas. I really do think HIMS could hit 60 here in the next couple of days if we keep this momentum up. It is a little extended here, but off of the earnings here, that could be the kind of jump pad to use it as a springboard to continue. I know Sean entered Hood. I am in Hood as well. We already covered this. Really, we just want about 51. And then Spotify here looks really good as well. We are closing above the all-time highs at around 652. Now we're kind of in price discovery. This is really nice. The last time we hit this 652 was February, so it's been about almost a whole quarter before we actually hit this area again. So I think this move is probably going to continue. Spotify reminds me of kind of like Netflix, where we had earnings, we broke all-time highs here, almost very similar setup, right? So like we had that big candle and then an inside day, whereas Spotify here we had two inside days before we finally broke it. Looks really, really similar though. In terms of price action, we finally break that all-time high on Netflix, and then we've just been running. Like all of these are green days, which is insane. Yeah, we did play spot last week and it paid, but now we're trying to catch the second wave. I think it can come. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think Hood is. I don't think it's too late to get into Hood. I would look to see how we open tomorrow and go from there. For new entries, I would probably like the best thing I would want is probably to not gap up too hard, and then I would take it above this break of this 50.5 area off this wick, which is today's high. So tomorrow I would be targeting a break above yesterday's high to catch that entry. No, probably not for Spotify. Yeah, my entry was not that great, unfortunately. Kind of caught the top a little bit, but market rebounded really healthily. I held this 652 breakout area. Wow, we actually are at 660 after hours here, but yeah, I would look for a retest of 652. If we hold that, that's a good re-entry. Bob, I'm gonna know that question. Sorry, buddy. Rocket Lab, earnings. So like it's just gonna be a 50-50 here. But yeah, no action for Rocket Lab. I have no thoughts. Sorry. Not willing to gamble the earnings, so no action from me. But this is what I like to see. It's kind of consolidating. Not the best. I'd love to see a little bit more tightening before we actually continue. So hopefully that's what will happen. Joined yesterday, really liking it. Awesome. Yeah, we do lives. We try to do it almost every day, I think, for the week. Good mix of good people too. MSTR Otter. Uh, I think it just needs to tighten a bit more. Honestly, hasn't fully tightened here. I don't think it's gonna break yet. Yeah, 400 seems like a pretty good resistance spot. Coin does report too, so I think maybe crypto's waiting for coin to report, and then maybe it'll do something from there. But MSTR, I would just look at Bitcoin and see what Bitcoin's doing, since that's literally all they hold. As long as we stay above this 95 area for Bitcoin, I think we test 100,000 really, really quickly. Bob, is your strat breakout wedges? Not, I mean, it's definitely one of them, but not all of it. Airbnb versus HIMS. Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, I do need to do a trade review on Airbnb here because we did take a loss. So for Airbnb here, I think the biggest problem is I just took too short of time. I did May 16th instead of the June 20th expiry. It's not as clean on Airbnb here, but there's a clear resistance spot at this 125, 126 area, and it just needs to really just tighten more. Clearly, this is telling you that it needs to consolidate a bit more before finally deciding. This is the type of compression you want to see if you're trying to trade it right. So then once you get that level and we're right when we're under it, as soon as it breaks out past that, that's your trigger to enter. But the other problem with Airbnb is that the EMAs aren't fully like primed, right? So that kind of doesn't really click for on the checklist that I have for the good trade. Whereas HIMS here, look at the weekly EMAs. They're curled up bullish here, indicating trending bullish, right? But then even on the daily time frames here, we've actually flipped bullish too. I think that's the biggest differentiator from HIMS versus Airbnb. Like, look at the difference, right? Like Airbnb shows you that we're actually struggling with the 50 and still relatively actually in this downtrend, right? Whereas HIMS here is just completely different picture. Here, I'm going to show you a really good example of price tightening. And I drew this on, I think, this day. This is Dollar Tree. I promise you, I drew this consolidation on this day here when I saw this rejection off of 85. I got 85 from this candle here, which is off the earnings. And I literally said, I want to see Dollar Tree here pull back, let the EMAs catch up, consolidate a bit, and then break out from there. Uh, and yeah, thankfully, miraculously, that is actually what ended up happening. Usually, a stock requires more tightening when the EMAs are very far extended. So Dollar Tree here really extended off the EMAs, which tells you that, we're probably going to have to see some type of pullback. It's not going to be an aggressive pullback where there's a huge sell-off, right? Usually what you'll see is just like price pulling back and retracing some of the move to establish a new area as new support. And TEM does look really good for continuation. Good. Above this level is really strong and actually closed right above it. It does have earnings soon, so unfortunately going to have to sit out for this one here. I use mainly daily and weeklies for just like top-down analysis for scanning. And then I'll go down to the lower time frames for 4 hour and 1 hour for finding entries. As Airbnb was struggling at the 50 EMA, what did you see that compelled you to take the trade? I wanted to see it use the 50 as new support to go up more, essentially. So I think I entered, it was either this day or this day here. I wanted to see a reclaim of the 50 and then consolidate above the 50, establish that previous resistance as new support, and then eventually actually finally hit that pop. Which honestly, like that might actually happen here in the next couple days, maybe like next 2 weeks. Oh wait, go back. Yeah. So it looked really good here, but then we ended up failing to hold the 50. So that tells me, yikes, like this is going to probably take a little bit more time. So if anything, the May 16th is just not enough time. But right now, like this is too wide of a range. It's just not that clean. That's not what we want. But it did look good though, because we reclaimed the 50. Oh, was Thames earnings yesterday? Sorry. I had a replay mode on. My bad. Sorry. No, never mind. We're good. This is a good trade. I like this trade. First TV would probably be around 61.5. And then I want to see how much further we can go. Let's see. So this is to answer your question as well. M Dr. Warzone. Time frames, I'll usually look for the daily for like take profits and stuff. And then you want to use candles as well as just significant levels, right? So probably around here. This is the next volume node, which aligns up with this candle here as well. So I'll just say like probably 69 to 70 is probably the next spot if we can break this 61 area. I always want to do that on the daily or even weekly time frame profits. Palantir, probably no action until we let the dust settle a little bit more for post earnings here. Um, just, yeah, we gapped down here. We're not really able to fill it and recover. If anything, if you're looking for a trade, you would look for a break of the gap here to try to capture this gap fill, right, for the upside. And then obviously, if we break down this low here, we're likely going to continue lower. That's the kind of range you want to look at. Yes. Volume shuffle. It's gonna be this. I'll leave it up. I use the 8, 21, and 50. So same thing as Sean. We like to go for consistency. I really like the 15-minute and the 1 hour time frames for executions, Tyler. Yeah, arm gap down pretty heavily here. Just there's nothing to say about that. It's cooked. Yes, 15-minute and 1 hour for executions usually. When trading on the daily, how do you determine where to take profits if you don't hit the previous day high? If it's a swing, I likely won't take profits if it hasn't hit the previous day high and further on for targets because that's where we want to target. And likely if it hasn't hit previous day high, it's probably a consolidation day, which means no action, right? Bros. Kind of ugly, I'm not gonna lie. This kind of reminds me of the Airbnb setup here, where we just really struggle to flip the 50 EMA, and then price is trending down lower again. So for this is nothing really to do here. If anything, maybe look for like that, maybe break of this area for a downtrend. With me working full time, executing the 15-minute 1 hour will be easier for me. Yes. So really neat thing about TradingView is that you can just set these alerts for the certain level you want. And like that's literally what I do. So like I won't look at it until I actually get a ping. Reddit looks pretty ugly. I think it wants to fill this gap fully to 101. Yeah, they really flipped the script on Reddit here. Looks weak. I think Snow is a good contender for tomorrow and going into the rest of the week. Really, really good. We had 3 inside days and today finally the breakout. I hope it doesn't do like a crazy gap up. We can catch some type of entry. Maybe look for like a retest of this 169, 170 area as a potential re-entry here. Like if anything, we want to see something like this happen. That would be amazing. So Snow is definitely on the list here for tomorrow. Let's see what else we got. I really like Meta. This is a good one as well. Over 604, definitely on the list for tomorrow. CRM is continuing here. So I think CRM is a good example of testing in real time, right? We failed to flip the 50 EMA here. Now I really want to see if we can manage to hold this breakout and use the 50 as new support. So then this move will continue. Another good one is probably CrowdStrike here. It's in this little range. I want to see CrowdStrike hold this 418 level here, which is the breakout spot. And then probably bounce between this for a little bit before another pop. Yeah, Meta does look good. I agree. A lot of software names are starting to look good. Like Zscaler, like you said. Zscaler looks really good. PanW as well is something I'm looking at as well. Over this 191 area is the key for this breakout to be confirmed. Kind of in this consolidation. Relatively low volume as well. I think banks also look decent. Like, I mean, this is not that pretty, but Goldman Sachs here, flipping a little bit bullish here. Yes, I am in full for spot. But yeah, I am planning to add more, likely, if we can continue this breakout. CoreWeave, well, we did break this downward trend, so kind of like retested it today too. Not the prettiest daily, but still above this level. So yeah, this is kind of a more speculative trade. Um, really want to see if we can maybe test like this 60 area. Honestly, I don't know what I think about chip stocks right now, like Broadcom and Nvidia. Broadcom obviously looks like a little bit of a lagger outside of Nvidia since it's not above this area. So above this 205 is probably what I would look for. Nvidia's already kind of done this breakout past this 115 level. It doesn't look like they've been really affected by ARM's earning report here, which is really interesting. So maybe that'll be the one saving grace for chip stocks here. It might just continue. But yeah, it looks good. Other than that, I'm looking at kind of like the market here. The really interesting to note is I know Sean said this before for some of the calls is that the NQ actually does look a little cleaner in terms of price action here. Like this just looks like consolidation, right? But if you look at Qs here, the candles are a lot weaker, a lot of wicks, but we are flipping the 50 here. So that's the one significant thing that you want to look at. And the fact that like the market hasn't really dropped yet. But of course, in this situation where we had kind of a muted reaction to FOMC, we like tomorrow is probably the most important day that we want to look to see. Whatever happens tomorrow is likely where we're going to trend for a while. So we shall see. that's pretty much it for me here. Um, Netflix looks nice here too as well. Building a nice base. But yeah, pretty much it for me here. Hope that was helpful. That was fun. Not really much to look at today. Simply because we want to see what happens tomorrow, but it's good to organize the thoughts and everything. And I will have this recording up as well. Yes. I do look at QQQ. But NQ looks a little cleaner right now. So like if you pull up to your charts, this is it. This is the Qs. This is NQ. It's a little more clean. Yeah. We'll do more scans, I think. This was really fun. I will catch you guys later. Have a great rest of your night. I will see you guys tomorrow.